Hey, everybody. I am Michelle Sheely with CPG Therapy, your host, your almost therapist, your queen of culture, helping you take the curd out of your culture. Happy New Year. 2026 is off to the races, and I am very optimistic and really positive about this year. I am really excited because I have a brand new knee, and pretty soon I'm going to be able to be hiking and in the woods walking those trails and kind of getting back into that therapeutic mindset that I have that really has helped me along my journey. So I am really excited for that. And I'm excited for you guys for whatever you're doing that is going to take you to the next level. But I really have a lot of optimism for this year. It feels really good. And no matter what happens, life is short. So really just enjoy the ride. So today, I am excited about the guest I'm bringing on. I heard a podcast with them and they talked about trust and partnerships, and I said, "You know what? I think that's a really important topic for CPG therapy and I want to discuss that with them." But I also wanted to bring them on because they're branding geniuses. One of them worked for Disney, another one is just the guru of websites and web design, and they are the yin to each other's yang, and they are the founder and the chief operating officer of Brandartica. And they have helped many CPG brands, not even just CPG, but many brands just get that inner voice for their brand and really dial their brand and that brand story in so that they could gain the consumer that they were looking for. So I am so excited to have them on to talk about trust and partnerships and what brands can do right now in 2026 to really help take them to the next level as far as their branding goes. So help me welcome Peter Ricciardi and Jeff Litcofsky from Brandartica. Peter, Jeff, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on CPG Therapy and talk about building a brand, talk about trust and partnerships. Welcome.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you so much.
And I'll tell you, I need all the therapy I can get. So I'm
We all
glad.
do. We
Yes.
all do. I think therapy is a good thing. I know I had been in it for a long time and it's served me well. So but today I really want to talk about I was listening to one of your shows and reading what the Dogs of Society,
Think of Elton John.
Elton John, Where the Dogs of Society Held. And I was reading that one of the blog posts that you put in, then you talked about trust and partnerships. And I said, oh my gosh, I want to talk about that in an episode because trusting your partners is so vitally important to your growth and the growth of your brand and building a brand. So that's what we're going to focus on today is trust and partnerships. But I think I want to start out and I mean, I know you guys were you with Disney, Jeff, you weren't, or were you both with Disney? And kind of how did Brandartica come about?
Well,
Mm.
I was at Disney. And yeah, I'd been there for 15 years. I started hanging drywall terribly, by the way. I still suck at it. And yeah, I started off as hanging drywall and then hung around for a while and wanted to watch this production studio in action. And that, I went from doing that to copyright to getting coffee and watching and getting coffee and making suggestions and doing voiceover and writing. And then it just bore itself into a sort of a creative director role for the Disney, Walt Disney Company's marketing and media division. So I had a lot of different platforms to play in. And obviously, with a job like that, lots of guidelines and frameworks or guardrails, I suppose. But, it taught me a lot of things. It taught me to overcome the challenges of those guardrails. It taught me to think well beyond the box. And it taught me that, rules are really I always knew this though, but rules were meant to be broken. It's nice to have rules. And some situations, obviously you want to have those rules in place, those systems and processes, but those are different than rules. So, yeah,
Mhm.
after that, I left the company, did not want to go back out to Burbank. It wasn't my cup of tea at the time because I just had family and everything back here. Started to do my own thing, which became Brandartica. And of course, Jeff has his own sordid story to tell.
I do.
Yeah, I was like, how did you guys meet? How
Well,
did
Jeff, why don't you tell her a little bit about,
Yes.
what you were up to for a while and then how we met?
So my background is primarily in consumer electronics, believe it or not.
Oh, wow, okay.
In audio with some big major global brands, audio brands that made speakers and receivers and home theater systems and things like that. When I left that business, I joined a startup for a couple of years, and then from that, the funding got pulled. So it was one of those failure experiences, but
Been
it was
there.
also a great experience in terms of seeing a brand of, from dust to, actual product and placement and retail and all that stuff. So it was a great experience in terms of learning. I left, that kind of industry, and I decided I was going to be a WordPress website developer and
Okay.
do my own thing. So I started my own business as a website developer, and I started working locally and then expanding off. And I ended up being a lot of agencies would hire me as somebody on their bench that would do WordPress websites. And I started working with Peter on a couple of his clients' projects because Peter had this creative vision of their brand and everything, and he needed a website built. So it was a good experience. We started working on projects together, and I think at some point in time, Peter's like, "Well, why are we working separately? Would you become a partner in this agency, Brandartica?" And it made total sense to me because we had our focuses in terms of the things that we provided and the knowledge that we had in the background that we had, kind of it gelled.
Mm.
How long ago was this? So how long have you guys been together?
Ooh,
Oh, probably
like
what, Jeff, 7 years?
something like that. Yeah.
Mm. And I
Yeah.
had started it a few years earlier. I had a partner, interestingly enough, because as far as the topic of today, one of the topics, but I had a partner who, again, was a design person, but so much like me in the sense that we both did the same thing. But we also both had very different ideas of what entrepreneurship meant and hustling. And it was just a bad relationship. And it was starting to become a very uh, toxic relationship,
Mm.
and it was spilling over into client relations. And I knew at that point, you're gonna kill my business is what's gonna happen. You got to go. And at the time, Jeff and I had already been, Jeff had already participated in a few things. Funny part was, and Jeff, you know this, Jeff, I said, Jeff, would you ever come on like to partner with me and, help build this thing? And he was like, yeah, no, I would love to, but not with that other guy around.
Got it. So he was holding your business back. So you said that it kind of got a little toxic, and that happens when
Yeah.
there's a toxic area of the business. A lot of times
Mm.
that holds businesses back from growing. And especially if you're having teams, if you have a team and they really see that toxic friction, and it affects, it's like a fungus. It just grows, right? And it affects
Mhm.
everything
Yes.
in the
Jeff,
entire business and the entire team.
Jeff and I have a standing rule, and I mean it's common sense, but mom and dad don't fight, or dad and dad don't fight in front of the kids.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't fight. I don't want to assign either one of us to the role of mom. Neither one of us are capable.
Yeah, it's just like these are gender neutral rules.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
Gender
we're
fluid. Yes.
I'm smooth as a baby, smooth like a
Yeah.
Ken doll. Um, anyway, sorry, I got lost there in that.
No. So
But
let me ask you.
yeah, go.
Mm.
Okay, so now that you guys have decided to partner together, and that was 7 years ago, and you guys are really considered in CPG and with the brands that you have helped, like really experts in what you do. How many brands do you guys think you've helped grow and you've really developed?
Huh. Well, that we've helped grow and really develop, maybe 3. No, I'm kidding. A bunch. I don't know. I honestly, I was talking to somebody
Antarctica here.
the other day was telling. Somebody the other day was telling me that, that I've helped hundreds of brands. And I was like, really? Like, that's cool. I mean, how many have you not helped? Or, I
Mm,
always look forward with this sort of a thing and go, we've helped a lot of different businesses and brands over the years,
mm,
um,
Uh-huh.
of varying sizes. One of the biggest questions you always have to ask at the front end of a exploration with a potential client is what does success look like at the end of this project?
Right.
Because
mm.
we need to know, and we've all done this. We've all made that mistake. So, I mean, we've worked. Here's what's more interesting to me. It's not the number, it's the variety. A lot of agencies or a lot of creatives say, well, I only work in the cannabis industry, or I only work in health and wellness industry, only finance and banking. Industry is the right word, agnostic, Jeff, or am I using it
Gnostic,
totally
yes,
wrong?
that's
Yeah, okay.
exactly right. Yeah.
Okay.
Every brand has a unique story to tell, and marketing, there are nuances, but like I don't
Mhm.
need to know everything in the world there is about bank and finance in order to help that business. So we've done what, Jeff? Car stereos, audio systems, sushi restaurants, printing companies,
Yes,
conglomerates,
nonprofits.
nonprofits,
Yeah.
craft breweries, wineries, you name it. We've been involved in it. And in fact, one of my favorite projects was working, we almost landed it too. It was going to be a casket company, who actually, in all truth, they're doing great. And they're just the kind of people we love to work with, because not only is it really weird that they're in the casket industry,
No, and
but
people
they're
die every day. It's a
outrageous.
growing business.
It's
It's a
insane.
grown
I,
Yeah.
I tried to get them to run a campaign that was
taxes and lawyers.
sort of
Yeah.
you could lease the casket or you could rent the casket. I mean, do you really need it forever? You don't. I mean, you're
It's a
going to be
long
in
No,
there
there's
for
time
a
people
few
for
that
it.
do
years.
that actually.
Huh.
They just have it temporarily, and then this is
Yeah,
getting dark, but
I know.
and we just do
Uh,
it for the show, the big party, the show, and then the family
yeah.
leaves, and
That's right. Yeah, then
away you go.
scoop them out, put them in a wooden box and a pine box, and send him on
Yes.
his way. I do think, though, the key is, like, for us, we really love the variety. We only work with brands and companies and people that we are genuinely attracted to and we enjoy, and that, you know, appreciate the curiosity. That's the biggest piece in branding to me.
Right.
If you've got someone that's curious, you've got someone that you can work with. If it's
Mm.
someone that's been in the industry for 40 years, you're going to get just the past 40 years of the regurgitated ideas they've been kicking around. So,
Right. Well,
Yes.
you said something really important. You said, you always ask at the end of this project, what does success look like? And that's such an important question because Stephen Covey, I worked for a coaching program for him in between wilderness therapy and but when I went back to the beauty industry, because I've been in CPG for a long time. Anyway, his coaching company and his book, one of the 7 habits of highly successful
Hmm.
people is think with the end in mind, and you
mhm.
lead from that
Yes.
point. You lead from the end, you work your way back. So that's a really important question. And that just goes to show like why you've been successful is because you know what that looks like and you're carving your path there. So what would you say for 2026, kind of not a brand being able to knock it out of the park? What would you say they should be doing in order to really set their brand up for success?
So many
Mm.
things. For me, what I think personally here is that a lot of brands, um, they have a very expensive problem. Let's put it that way. And I think that very expensive problem is that they have sort of a brand identity fog. They don't quite have a sharp enough positioning. They come across generic, or let's just say safe. Um,
Mm.
I think that's a huge issue for brands. What's the cost of all that? You're wasting time, you're wasting money, you're getting burned on other creative that doesn't actually convert anything. A lot of people are recommending that they throw more money into ads or more content or more this. And, the issue is, or let's discount things, and get some action.
Yeah.
The problem is that people don't understand who they are and what the problem is that they solve.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what about you, Jeff? What
Yeah.
do you think?
So, I mean, I think you touched upon it. Like, there's a lot of a lot of brands that are thinking that they look at another similar brand and they're like, well, I'm just going to copy that process, and because it was successful for them, they got their big payout, $500 million or whatever after 9 years. But that's not how things work. Like you can't follow. There isn't like this guide that you can follow that you can get to that end result simply because they did it. There's all these other circumstances involved. And so understanding that every brand has to be unique, otherwise you can't go very far being a Me Too product, a
Right.
Me Too
No, you
brand.
can't.
You
It's
can't.
very
It's
hard for
just
me to sell a Me Too brand as a,
yeah,
you know, as somebody who's, a sales director. If I'm Me Too, I'm constantly having to carve out what's different about it and to kind of tell a different story about the
yes.
brand to make the buyer think it's not a Me Too product when he knows it's a Me Too product.
Yeah.
To that point, I think the thing that lands hard for me there is that when you're a Me Too product or you're just, a like product in a category that's saturated, perhaps, you're always looking for that differential. You're always trying to find something that catches people, and most people will go directly to pricing on that. And then when you start
Right.
to market based on your pricing and you're hoping that people just get it, but they're not getting it. Maybe they're interested in you on because of the price point. But what happens when you do when you have a really clear story and a brand identity that's just crystal clear, everything is got, you've got your instant recognition. You've created a situation where you have buy now confidence. So the consumer has less hesitation in choosing you. And you become not just an alternative choice as a CPG brand, or this works for anybody. You're not just an alternative that, let me, I'm buying it because of the price. You're buying it because it's the option you must have. It builds that loyalty. It's that buy now concept. And then
Mm.
you know what? You don't have to mess with your price. You could charge whatever you want. People will pay.
You could pay more. You could charge more.
You can charge more.
Right.
You're a premium product. Charge whatever the hell you want. You know why? Because I absolutely crystal clear understand who and what you are and what you allow me to solve. Because the product never solves the customer's issue. The customer will solve the issue on their own. You're there to help. You're there to be a mentor.
Really? Okay. I've
That's
never even heard it from that perspective. The brand is there to be a mentor for the consumer, kind of to fill that need in that
Think
gap.
of it as a successful brand that wins the day takes on the role of Jiminy Cricket.
Okay.
It's there's a problem.
Yes.
Okay, there's a problem. This is like my Disney is starting to show.
Right. I love
Even
it.
though I'll tell you, I never drank the Kool-Aid. I would spit it out. The story arc you have to have in every Disney Pixar film. What do they do at the very beginning?
Someone dies.
Like spinning around. Like
No. I mean, at the beginning of all of these movies, whether it's Pixar or a parent dies, something happens. There's
Yeah,
a
someone
loss.
dies.
There's a loss. Even in Toy
Yeah.
Story, there's a loss.
That's
The
true.
loss.
I've never thought about that. Yeah, and you work for Disney, so you know the storyline.
This is
And
a story arc, and any brand can adopt it. But I think sometimes people struggle to put the dots together. So what I'm saying is that, you want it's a healthier donut that tastes great, but it's gluten-free, this, that, and the other thing, blah, blah, blah. Now you're saying, I can go back to eating donuts. Well, the problem is people are looking for a healthy way to eat things that they love. So you're offering them that. You're not solving the problem. You're providing the tools for the customer to solve their own problem. When you make them the hero, you've got a brand loyalist on your hands.
oh my God, it's CPG therapy. The product is the therapy
Yes.
that connects with the consumer. All it is tools. Your tools in your
Yeah.
toolbox to
Yes.
solve your own problems.
100%,
That's
Michelle.
yeah, that's amazing. I love that. I'm not going to get Jiminy Cricket out of my head. I might even make that. Well, I'll probably get sued by Disney if I ever.
Yes,
if
yeah,
someone-
right.
Yeah. So I
The
probably okay.
lawyers just pulled up in front of my house.
Yes.
Unmarked white van.
So what would
Mm.
you say? Okay, let's talk about partnerships because I love talking about branding and storytelling. I am such a storytelling geek. I've done stories for NPR, The Moth,
Oh,
multiple, and I love writing and
mm,
storytelling, and I'm always saying, "Tell your story." I told my daughter that she will not submit her college essay without it going through me first. I'm like, "They're reading thousands. You're gonna tell your story, you're gonna tell best, you're gonna entertain. Your job is to entertain and to really fill that gap in that story
yes.
and what that
She's
need
lucky
is."
to have you in her corner.
And I was in oh, trust me, I've already went to the English department. I was like, "We need to do storytelling." Well, I will teach it, you know, so, but because I love it because it's so important because the story connects with what is it connects so many people, and it also connects the consumer,
Hmm.
and what I loved about doing moth storytelling, and this is just kind of a sidebar, but I could be in the same room telling stories in an audience. I remember when I did the Grand Slam, I was there with somebody that was transgender, someone that had just gotten out of prison. Those were two of the people I was telling stories with, among other people. I'm like, when am I going to be able to sit down and have a conversation with someone who's transgender? I mean, I have an aunt that's transgender, but every day it's not part of my circle, right?
Hmm.
Mhm.
Someone who just got out of prison who literally would not give anybody his name, but he gave him the prison that we knew him as like 654321 or something. That was his prison number.
Okay.
Hmm.
There were all these people who I just would not interact with on a daily basis, but it gave me an opportunity to connect with people I would never have the opportunity. And that's what I love about storytelling. And that's where I think, and I could be wrong, storytelling in CPG is connecting with a consumer, somebody that
Yeah.
you would never have access to in the first place.
That's right.
100%. And I'll add to that, I really think that it's verbal and it's
Hmm.
visual. You have to consider your story. A lot of people, I think their storytelling is on the about page when they say, "We developed this hot sauce at our kitchen table back in," that's
Mm.
not a story. That's just we've all heard that one. But you're right. I mean, that story is essential, and CPG products have an opportunity to tell it in a variety of ways in a variety of environments.
Mm.
Right. And it's funny when you say the story's visual. I was, just at Christmas with my nieces and they were talking about a perfume. They're like, "Oh, I'm going to go out and buy that." And I said, "Well, have you smelled it? Do you like it?" They're like, "We don't care. We just care about the packaging." That's
That's
what we
right. That's
Yeah,
right.
we want the packaging.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's there's trendy things, and then there's an alignment thing too, right? So
Right.
in terms of like if they tell the story in the right way, you're like, these are my people.
Yeah.
This is where I want to be in this group. And it may be, a whole category of products, right? But it's part of that ecosystem that they connect with. And that's the beauty of a brand story, is that all of a sudden you're like, well, this fills that need right now, but it also connects me to this whole community.
Right. No, it does. And connecting to that whole community is really important because when you're trying as a brand, when you're sitting in those meetings, I've been a part of a lot of them, like, how can we sell more product off sale, right? Because the promotion, that's at the bottom of the funnel, right? You got everything at the top of the funnel. And it's connecting with that consumer, telling the story, and really
Yes.
those consumers that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it's on promotion. It's because you connect with them in a completely different way and you're giving them the tools. They're solving it problem, but your product is giving them the tools.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that too, as far as community, because we talk about this a lot, and we ask, a client, well, do you have, are you doing stuff on social? And they're like, yeah, we have a Facebook account, we have an Instagram, and you go on there, and it literally is that they're putting up ads as their posts. There's no community management. There's no interaction with the community, with the followers. The, it's a social media is a conversation you're supposed to be having with the people that are aligned with your product or are currently customers.
Mm.
It's not about having the account. I'd rather you not have the account because it's not
Right.
doing you any good.
Right.
With regard to that, we tell clients, or let's just call them what they are, partners, we tell them all the time, if you're going to engage in social media, there's the key word. You've got to engage. I always try to position it for folks to understand that social media is like a house party. Okay. The most interesting people so everyone's there. That's what social media is. You're at a house party. You go around the room. If you're shy, you stay on the sidelines. You don't really meet anybody. You survived the house party experience, but you met no one. You took nothing away from it, and you gave nobody anything to remember you by. If you go into a different room and there's this loud guy just being, that is not everyone's favorite party guest. They're just that loud guy.
No, they're the
So
tolerable guests. The guests that you're like,
tolerable to a point, right?
tolerance,
The most popular people at a house party are the ones that you see are surrounded by a group of other people, and they're engaged and they talk, but mostly they listen.
Right.
And that is social media for business in a nutshell. You go in there, you listen, you share, you engage, and you listen some more.
Mm-hmm.
That's such an interesting point because my daughter, she's a social media manager for a restaurant at 15, and she does
Awesome. Oh my
she does a
God.
great job. And she's like,
That,
"Mom, when are you going to let me manage your social media for CPG therapy?" And I said, "She's like, how come you haven't been on Instagram? How come you haven't done all that?" And I literally said to her, "I'm just not ready for that party." And I said, "But you can get me there. Will you take me there? Will you be the brand ambassador at that party for me?"
Yes.
that's such a natural thing. And at her age, she couldn't be any more perfect for the role, you know?
Right.
I mean, that's like, it's a struggle. I'm 56, Jeff, similar.
57.
Should I be on TikTok? But I am. And because part of it for us is it's our job, but at her age and younger folks understand the inner workings of these platforms, and it's natural to them,
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what I tell the guys that I work for. I'm like, hire somebody that's in high school or in college that's just on that thing all the time. Because
Interns, marketing
yeah,
interns.
we can't keep up with that, nor do we want to.
Yeah.
No.
Let them take it and run, and then they'll feel really, really good about it, and they'll go above and beyond for you too.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
the most important part of what we just said, and you said it, was they'll take it and run. Let them. You cannot successfully do anything on social media if you're constantly holding the apron
Yes.
strings, right?
right.
You've got to
You
let
can't.
it go. And the reality is we all make mistakes. I mean, unless you make like one of those really huge, bogus,
Right.
politically crazy ones. We all make mistakes, but the truth is, with the cycle of social media, in 90 seconds, that post you left a comma out, you forgot the Oxford comma, it's fucking gone. Nobody cares.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you
Right.
spend all your time focused on that, guess what happens? We've had clients do this. Those posts never see the light of day.
Right.
You've missed
Right.
the opportunity.
It's
Yeah,
so
I mean that I was just gonna say, like in terms of in terms of trust. So there's this, we kind of covered expectations, right? In terms of like what does success look like, but there's an accountability thing too, in that you can't if you're gonna delegate to a partner, you're gonna delegate a task or something that needs to be done, right? In terms of your marketing, you have to. The only way that they're accountable for its success, is if you let them go do what they do best, right? And if you're involved in every step of the way, how on earth are they accountable for what the outcome is?
Well, and that's just, I think, good leadership too, and it's trusting the partnership. And I'm glad we kind of circled around back to trusting the partnership because it was what you said, what we said in social media, like hire the intern and let them run with it because that's what they're experts in. You're
Mhm.
hiring these experts and you're going to pay really, really good money for them.
Mhm.
Trust them. They
Mhm.
know what they're doing. Let them run. Don't nitpick and micromanage everything that they do because that's just exhausting and it completely takes away from the productivity that they could be having. I mean, I love that Steve Jobs said, hire good people and basically let them do their job.
Mhm, mhm. Then that's the thing where it comes back a little bit to branding is that if you're going to just let someone run with it, but you don't have brand guidelines, you're going to have a problem. So when you get back to the beginning of everything, especially what we were talking about at the beginning, what a brand needs before they do anything else, or if they're changing their direction a little bit, you need a solid set of simple, easy to use brand guidelines. A friend of mine worked on the brand guidebook for Prince. Prince, the artist formerly known as Prince. The thing was like 250 pages long. Now, granted, that's Prince. None of us are Prince.
Right.
But you don't need a complete, but you do need some kind of a guideline for someone in that position so that you don't have to manage or oversee or helicopter boss them all day long, you know? And that's where the trust comes in. If you have that brand guide, you understand it, and everyone on your team understands it, there should be no issues. Everyone should proceed on their designated routes. You're going to, it's like a football team. I'm going to send you long cut right. You're going to cut left. I know where you're going to be. And I can throw the ball before you get there because you followed your route. If you don't follow your route, there's no, someone's going to pick it off or it's going to go incomplete, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we hear this from when they have interviews with team members of football players, and there's 11 people there that make that one play happen. It's not one and two people. It's not the quarterback and the receiver. There's 11 other people involved.
Right. There is. And I mean, I played competitive soccer for years. That's why I just had a full knee replacement.
That'll do it.
Completely damaged my knees, from 40 years of playing soccer. But when you're playing at that competitive level, I mean, you've got 11 people on the team, probably 18 total, 11 on, on the field. And you know exactly where everybody's going to be. We always say anticipate where they're going to go, because I know that my forwards, my midfield, my defense are all in alignment, and I can put that ball wherever it needs to be, and they're going to be there.
That's right.
You have that synergy in the team, and score the goal and you win, right?
That's the
And
trust.
it's the trust. It's a lot of communication, and it's a lot of, if whatever happens on the field is left on the field, but you trust each other and you work together. It's just when you're like, working in those kind of competitive teams, in those competitive environments, you have to have the trust of your teammates in order to get the job done so you can win. I mean, it's just fun.
Yes. And to add to that too, there's a transparency thing too, where if you mess up, like you own it, right? Like
Absolutely.
this is the part of that, a partnership trust that has to come into play, is transparency. If there's something going on that we, that your partner doesn't know about, you don't want those gotcha moments, right? You don't want something to come up and say, oh, well, we have to go do this event on, in 2 weeks. And we're like,
Trying to
what?
tell me something, Jeff?
No,
Something
no,
going on?
no. But you see what I'm saying? It's sort of like, if something isn't working and we're not telling you that it isn't working, that's not really a trusted partnership.
Yeah.
I always say get in front of problems before they get in front of you.
There you go.
There's so many people that are non-confrontational, and I always think of confrontation. It's like, it's right? Is with, right? It's getting in front of with somebody. It's like, no, you're just unpacking the bag. Unpacking the bag so you can see, or whatever, all the chess pieces on the table so that you can move them in a different way in order to be able to win. That's all a confrontation is. It's kind of removing the chess pieces and figuring it out, renegotiating. It's like, please give me the problem so that I can rework it. I can do something about it, because if you like I have brokers and I tell them this, I'm like, do not tell me I'm discontinued if you haven't talked to me, or we haven't been,
Yes.
we've been in meetings before, because, sometimes they'll be like, do you really want to tell the buyer that? I was like, of course I want to tell the buyer this, because I see the iceberg ahead, and it's only the tip. Like, there's so much beneath the surface. Like, yes, I need to figure out a different route. And then they know that well, thank God somebody's paying attention, So, and then I can rework whatever I need to rework. And I think that's really important. That's where it comes, that those trusting partnerships is you have to trust the other person that they want to win for your brand just as much as you do.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with, we've worked with companies and brands in the past that, at some point it becomes evident that maybe they aren't as passionate about this as we are. And I go, well, that's a
Sure.
problem here. And if I got to tell you this, there's a real problem. But I mean, that's look, you've invested in us, you've trusted us with your baby. If we can't come to you and say, look, I just don't see you making the moves that we're recommending on a consistent basis to succeed. So when we started this conversation and you told me what success looked like, cool, we understand what that outcome is. We're working backwards, we're back engineering it. If we've given you all the tactics and strategies to get to that point and you just don't seem to be doing them, that's a problem. So, we're coming to you to tell you that this is an issue and this is why we're not succeeding. That's the trust coming forward again. And that's what you work with for people. Again, and Jeff and I know this all the time. We've done it personally with each other and with in professional settings where, trust isn't something that we build, it's something we earn. And that
Right.
means you have to do something. You have to
Mhm.
do something to earn the trust. And then once it's earned, you can build on it, right?
Right. Well, and I think let me just give
Mm.
founders some credit here too. There's a lot of founders who are worried about, I always say be very scrutinizing before you partner with somebody. Do all
Mhm.
your homework, fish for character, go out to dinner first, maybe go play golf.
Mm.
If while your
Mm.
back is turned, they move their little mile marker, up ahead, maybe you don't do business with
President.
yeah,
Oh
maybe
my
you don't
god.
do business with that person because they lack character,
Right.
right? Because people that do that or cheat in games, they're going to cut corners in other areas of their life. So fishing for characters,
Yeah,
those things, right?
that's right.
Mhm.
Um, but when you decide I'm going to go into business with this person, they're on your team. Take it and run, let them do their job, let them do their thing
Mm.
and really trust the partnership. But, in my last episode I did with Robert Johnson, formerly from New Seasons,
Mm.
we went over imposter syndrome, and there's five different types of imposter syndrome. And one of the types of imposter syndrome is somebody that has to do everything on their own. And that type of imposter syndrome comes from a lack of trust
Mm,
because maybe they've been disappointed so many
Yes.
times, right? That they have to do it all on their own or they have to
Mm.
micromanage because they just can't trust their partners. And so I always say, like, go back to the imposter syndrome. There's many different layers that go into this. And that's why
Mm.
we talk about CPG therapy, is because the things that happen outside of the business, the things you're dealing with at home, or the things that you've dealt with growing up with, like those things, those diagnoses or those therapeutic attributes, everybody has their own attributes, right? The therapeutic attributes of your personality. I call it the personality potluck that you're
mm,
bringing to the table.
Yeah, I was
mm.
thinking
Those,
the recipe, right?
yeah,
That's your
right.
recipe.
Right. Those are either going to make or break you. They're going to
Mm.
show up at work. I mean, we all have
Yep.
something that we're showing up at work with. So, and I see it like they're going to either hold the brand back because they're holding your leadership back, or they're going to move it forward, right?
Yes.
So, and
Yes, I
all,
mean, interesting, you see this all the time, uh, with the brands that are scaling, the ones that I'm like, "Wow, they really know what's going on." The founder will hire a CEO, right?
right.
Will have the confidence enough to hand over the reins of the operations to a COO or somebody like that, because ultimately they understand, in order for them to grow, probably they're the ones who are in the way of that.
Right. Right, and they definitely can get in the way of it, but, I mean, maybe they're with them on their board, with the CEO on their board, but they definitely give the reins to somebody and say, "This is what you're an expert at. I'm gonna
Mhm.
trust you to do what we're gonna do."
Yes.
Absolutely.
And then there's CEOs, a lot of the CEOs too are CEOs that are founders. I mean, we've heard a lot of horror stories, some that
Sure.
lose their company because they give away too much equity, which is
Mhm,
so sad, and
mhm,
then there's others that, maybe they are trying to bootstrap the whole thing and they're not scaling as fast as they should or they could, and they maybe get a little left behind because another brand that was just like them got investment and they didn't bootstrap. They took off in the running and they trusted their partnerships that they
mhm,
brought on. But I think it's just really important that when you I can't say it enough, when you hire a partner, just trust them and work with them and really honor their value, but scrutinize all the way until you sign the
Yes.
contract. And once you sign that contract, it's like a marriage.
Yeah.
I was going to say it is a lot like a marriage in all cases because my wife and I disagree. We rarely fight. We don't fight. We speak loudly our terms and opinions um, over each other, but like it's a rarity, and that's because we know that like we have the utmost trust in each other. We can say
Right.
anything, do anything, be anything, and in business it's very much the same. You expect you place for people that have been burned by the agency relationship before, it doesn't mean all agencies are bad. Maybe just you chose the wrong people or entity. And it's the same with our partnership with Jeff. It's like, we don't always agree on everything. And sometimes it takes a step back to go, okay, you know, I have this opinion, you have that opinion. Is it a game killer? What do we need to do about it?
Mm.
A funny story. I have a friend who, when I was asking him about how his partnership worked, he said, literally, we are 50-50, which he was like, it was a mistake, but we're 50-50, and it's my father-in-law. Imagine that. He went into business with his father-in-law, whose daughter was married to him. She since divorced him. And then they're still in business together, the father-in-law, the ex-father-in-law and the son. And I said, how do you guys solve these, you know, these, these
And
problems, or these,
right.
right? He goes, but instead of going to mediation, we just do a quick run of rock, scissors, paper. Best 2 out of 3. And whoever wins it gets.
Probably one of the more
I was
brilliant
like,
ones.
I love it. I
Yeah.
told Jeff when we first started, I said, we ever run into that problem, dude, we're just going to play rock, scissors, and paper.
Yeah. Yeah, my little Rochambeau.
Yeah, a little Rochambeau. You
Yeah.
got to I think you have to work with people that you can trust and that you've earned trust with and that you feel comfortable enough to disagree and not feel bad about it, you
Well,
know?
and disagreeing is so important, and any marriage counselor will tell you this. I listened to a therapist called Dr. John Deloney out of Houston, Texas, and he'll say, like, if you're not arguing or disagreeing or having some sort of discourse and talking about the hard things, you don't have a marriage, right? And
Mm.
and you don't have the partnership. So discourse is actually healthy. Having those disagreements in a healthy way is really important because you're not always going to agree. You are going to have to really dig into some things and have the hard conversations. Reality isn't for the weak, and you have to have the hard conversations, especially if you're going to scale a brand or scale anything. I don't care what it
Right.
is, what you're trying to grow. I mean, I
But
don't know.
yeah, there's this whole thing too in terms of internal teams and buy-in and all this stuff. The way I was always mentored in business is that you everybody kind of puts in their disagreement or their other suggestions, and then when a decision is made by someone, it has to be by someone, right? Someone has to be accountable.
Right.
Once the decision is made, you have to be in alignment with it. Like 110%. You have to
Yeah,
be in alignment. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Like
right,
just because you can't carry your disagreement with you for it to work,
right.
because that's not how this is. You have
I
to
think
keep moving forward.
there's like a fine line between, getting feedback and input from the team
Mm,
and, acting on it. I think those are things that you have to be, I think, aware of. You have to notice.
Right.
If you're asking for it, this is why I don't ask my wife for her feedback on a logo design because usually it's not what I wanted to hear. And she's like, "Why are you even asking me?" And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to still impress you. It's a good thing. 16 years of marriage, I'm still trying to impress her. Um, but I think of that, and when we go through things internally on our end, I want to get people's feedback and input, and see what how it lands for them, because my perception of something's not always going to be the same as theirs. And then the other side of it is going, Jeff may really love it. Ashley may not. I maybe I love it too. That doesn't mean that it's like, okay, Jeff and I liked it, she didn't. We win. Let's go. It means it's time to revisit that idea and go, is that idea going to land with the audience it's intended for? Because maybe Jeff and I, who like it, aren't the right audience. And Ashley, who's
Right.
considerably younger than we are, maybe she is. And if she's telling us she doesn't like it, maybe it's time to revisit that and try again.
Mm.
Well, we had that discussion. We were trying to put some quotes on T-shirts, a
Mm.
few years ago, and the guys in the room had ideas for these quotes that they thought were hilarious, or that would be really good. And I was like, you don't want to use that terminology and expect women to wear that shirt, because women have a whole different perspective.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that we wouldn't have thought about it. I'm like, of course you wouldn't have thought about it because you're not a woman. So it's like getting the different perspective. And then we changed some of the terminology. So
Mhm.
it's just really getting aligned and being on the same page. Before we end, I just want to know, what would be like the last kind of piece of advice for trusting partnerships? Because I know you guys work with a lot of brands, a lot of different people. And what would you say to other brands or founders out there when they're looking to bring a partner on to really help them, or an agency on? What would you tell them to look for?
Yeah, I would just start like with in terms of alignment and things like that, like a real partner is in it for the long haul type of thing. So in other words, they like to be part of those discussions in terms of what the plan is over even several years. Um, because if you're looking for just production and an output, like if you're like, I want this done and we're just producing it and handing it to you, that isn't a partnership. That's just resource. And
Very
those two
true.
things are very, very different. So
I love this whole partnership versus resource. I think
resource.
that's the mindset that
Hmm.
they founders and people who are choosing partnerships really need to think about. Are you looking for a resource, or are you looking for a partner? Because it's two completely different things.
Totally,
Exactly.
100%. I agree with that 100%. Yeah, I think you wanna look for somebody, on in my experience, look for somebody that, fills in the gaps, or not, that makes it sound less important. It's just that, you don't share the same strengths perhaps. Some of them you do, but you wanna have somebody that can kinda pick up where you left off and can run with the ball. Somebody that can, if I go down for the week, I know that the company's in not going anywhere. Jeff's going to manage the whole. And same thing when Jeff's like, this thing happened and I got to go do this. It's like, dude, it'll be here when you get back. We got you, and that's what partners do. And, it means that, hey, I'm not going to be making, financial decisions and messing up with the P&L and going into, all that while Jeff's not around. Or should I?
No.
But point being is that when you have someone that balances you out, and people have often said with Jeff and I, you guys are like a great yin and yang. You've got a really good, flip side to each of you. We both share a lot of the same qualities. We both, have similar senses of humor, and things like that. But I mean, it means that the things that I don't excel in, he happens to. And the things that he doesn't excel in, I happen to.
Hmm.
So that was when we joined forces. That was the point, Michelle, was to say, we could do a lot more damage together than each of us pushing our own solo rope uphill. Well, let's do it together.
Hmm.
Well, and you hire for your gaps, and also,
Exactly.
yeah, in your environment too. Like, what do you want your environment? What do you want work to feel like? What do you want your partnerships to feel like? Well, I
Right.
want, I might have too much chaos going on at home. So if my partnerships are chaos, that you can't have chaos in both places, right? So
Right.
I need zen over here and I need chaos over here,
Uh-huh.
So I had to do that. I've had to let go of a broker because it was just way too chaotic for me.
Mhm.
Mm.
And I needed zen. And so
Mhm.
hire for your gaps, hire for how do you want it to look and feel
That's right.
at the end of the
That's right.
day.
Yeah, people would, we'd come across as geniuses if there was any real intention. But the fact is, I have two young daughters, and now they're 10 and 13, which but they were much, several years younger when Jeff and I met, and when I was
Mm.
trying to get this thing off the ground. Jeff has two kids, but they're much older. They're in college, and so the beauty, what I'm getting at, is that we are in different places in some senses personally, but we're in the same place business wise. And that personal part, Jeff understands what I may be going through, on certain
Mm.
days at certain times. Like, my youngest just came in looking for a charger for her iPad. Dad, do you have the charger? I mean, like, what, am I not doing something here?
Right. No, no, not at
Doesn't
all.
matter to her. Don't care.
Nope.
Wants what she wants. But that's the thing where I can hit mute and go over here and tell her,
Yes.
get out of here. And Jeff will pick up that conversation and keep going. So that's what, we understand that part of our own
Mm.
relationship. So we're looking for a partner. You really want to look for someone that is not the opposite so much of you, but just different enough that it gets you further ahead.
Sure.
Yeah, the guys I work for, I'm literally a hybrid of both of them.
I love it.
So it works. And it just happened to be that way. And which is great. And so the partnership's really great. And it's work is a lot of fun. And they know that I have their back. And they've even said, like, you navigate this like it's your own business. Like you want us
Mhm.
to win just as much as we do. I'm like, of course. Well,
Uh-huh.
I have a saying, and it is the first saying in our mission in our family for me and my daughter, either be all in or get all out. Don't do anything in between.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
100 Yeah, you're
Perfect.
100%,
Yes.
you're 100% out because we don't half-ass anything.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one of my favorite words, like half-ass. I hate it.
Yeah, so
I hate half-ass.
Absolutely.
well, we don't do anything half-ass. That's right. Well,
No.
Oh, I do everything full ass. Yeah.
Right?
Jeff,
Mm.
Peter, I thank you guys so much for agreeing to come on CPG Therapy. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much, audience. I hope you guys got so much out of this. Trust your partnerships, trust the people, and just enjoy the people that you work with because you know
Mhm.
what? Honestly, life's too short and work's too important. So, all right, you
Oh,
guys, thank you so
thank
much.
you, Michelle.
Awesome.
What a
Thank you so
blast. Have a
much.
great day.